Welcome back to another episode of Runners Like Us, a place for the everyday runner to share their journey of triumphs and their passion of all things running, plus a look at everyday life. My name is Michelle. I'm here with my co-host Jason. Together we build a safe space for us runners. We are joined by my friend and Elevate teammate John today. John is such an amazing human and an especially badass runner, taking on his own challenge of doing a cold plunge a day for a year, which we will talk about a little later. Welcome to the show, John.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Super excited.
we are super excited to have you. I love John. He's like my little angel on the weekends.
Oh, that's kind of you should say.
All right, John, so we're just going to jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? What do you do for a living? Because I love that. And you have some children, so tell us about them too.
All right. So yeah, my name is John Kenner. I live in Lakewood, Colorado currently. Originally from Wyoming, found my way down here for college in the mountains up in Gunnison, Colorado, and never left Colorado after that. So now I've been and lived in Lakewood now for over 2 decades. So it's definitely home now. I'm a teacher. So I teach elementary PE. Just about to start my 22nd year. Actually, tomorrow I have my first back to school meetings.
Nice.
So that's big. I mean, I think that echoes back to who I am as a person. I love teaching. I love movement, and to teach kids to love.
I love that about you so much.
Thank you. And so yeah, I do have two boys. My boys are 12 and 16. So just about to enter 8th grade and 11th grade. So that's making me feel old for sure.
That's great. What is it like to teach elementary PE?
The funniest thing I get, the comments I get from people there's like two things. Either PE was their very, very most favorite thing in school, or it was their very, very least favorite thing in school. And I think it comes down to hopefully the way my students perceive me, which is like, hey, let's just go do these fun things. Or if it's like really, really hard, I'm not that hard driving, but I can be, it's for myself, not how I run my class. So I want kids to grow up learning to love to move. I think that if they leave my class with that, it's a win. So I love teaching. I have a couple run clubs that I run a couple times a year too, all the way down to kindergartners. And it's so fun to watch kindergartners learn how to run. You think that running is such a thing that we just do intuitively, right? But we have to learn how to run. And until you watch somebody learn, you're like, oh yeah, this is not just an easy, put one foot in front of the other. It kind of is, but there's absolutely better ways to do it.
Yeah.
When I teach my kids how to do it, it's like, well, do you have a sibling that you watched learn how to walk? And they stumble all over themselves and fall over, and that's why they're called toddlers. And I said, that's what we're doing right now. We're like learning how to run so that we can do it really efficiently.
Oh, I love that. What would you say makes you a runner like us? Because I think you're kind of a little more elite, and that's just personally because I know what you've done. But what makes you a runner like us?
Oh, that's funny. I don't think of myself as elite in any way. I just have always been a runner. Even as a kid, I didn't get into competitive running until I was in high school. I did a cross country thing and track stuff, but I didn't compete in that in college. I just have always loved movement. What eventually got me down here to Colorado was actually not running. It was Nordic skiing. But it was still, very much in that realm of endurance athletics. I think everybody can move. I mean, to certain degrees, that's how I like to look at it. So, I do enjoy running. I am pretty fast in some ways, but I'm nowhere near an elite runner. I guess I'm lucky to have stayed healthy for such a long time. So I think that consistency is such a huge piece of that.
For sure.
You talk about being blessed, staying consistent. Let's talk about like your longest race and then what got you to wanting to do that race.
Cool. You guys have connected the way I think when I've been listening to your podcast, it's the way you two connected was up in Leadville, correct? Yeah. And so it was really post-college that I kind of got into running longer than 5Ks or 10Ks. This was probably early 2000s, and started to ran a first half marathon. And I was like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. Like, this was okay. And it wasn't fast, especially in terms of how fast I can run now, but it was still like an under 2 hour half marathon. And I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then I, very quickly dropped that down to under an hour and a half. And I was like, oh, I think I might actually be okay at a marathon even. So then I started running. I ran the very first Colfax Marathon, which is out here.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So the funny thing is, anybody that's done Colfax, I mean, what, they're at like 20 years now or something. Those first few years, they actually ran all the way from, so if you know Denver at all, anybody that knows Denver at all, you ran all the way from Aurora to the Colorado Mills Mall in Golden. So it was a straight shot all the way through. It literally split the city in half, north and south, and you couldn't cross Colfax other than like I-25 and, there's a few other interstates. I'm sure logistically it was ridiculous, but from a first marathon standpoint, it was probably the worst way to do it. Although maybe not the worst, I don't know, but you're standing way out in Aurora and it's, 5:30 in the morning and you're cold and you're looking downtown and you see the little buildings downtown and that's like halfway. You're like, oh dear, what did I sign up for? What am I getting myself into? I ended up running, I actually ran pretty well that race and almost Boston qualified without realizing that's what I was going to do. So once I figured that out, I mean, I was literally like 50 seconds away from Boston qualifying. And so I was like, oh, well, that's pretty good. I didn't realize that was going to be even in the realm of things. And I actually walked quite a bit. Like the last little bit, I think a lot of people have with their first marathon is I totally did not pace that thing correctly and was just cramped up like crazy. And then still like, oh man, I almost managed a Boston qualifier. So, but way back then, this was like 2008. You didn't need like all the buffers that people need anymore. So I actually ran my next marathon. I ran a Boston qualifier and ran Boston in 2010. Then I've actually run Boston again this last 2024, and I needed the same exact qualifying time then. So that was the year I turned 30 was 2010. Or I guess it would have been 2009, but 2010, I was 30. And 2 years ago, like this one, I was 44. And that's what Boston's done. I actually needed to run a faster time because I needed the buffer and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to get faster 15 years later, almost 15 years later.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, super nuts. So that was fun. But after I did Boston in 2010, I had a cousin who had talked with me a lot about this trail race up in Wyoming. And it's a Bighorn, and they've got like a whole weekend of 30K, 50K, 50-mile, 100-mile event. And he'd done the 50K a number of times. And he'd said, hey, you've done the marathon. You got to come up. You got to do a 50K. It's only, 6 miles more. You can do it. It's on the trails and it's been the Bighorns and it's beautiful. And he finally talked me into it, but I decided to sign up for the 50-mile race. So I went straight from nice. Doing, the marathon up to 50. And again, I had no idea what I was getting into. And kind of in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, well, I ran like a 3-hour marathon. So I this is like 6, 7 hours maybe. And I'm crossing the line 9 hours later, and it's still a good 50-mile race, but definitely a different experience. But the funny part about that is now I've run 1,100-mile races, but finishing that 50-mile race and you're on the same course with 100-milers at that point. So I'm passing 100-milers and I see like the death march that they're doing. And, I'm at 9 hours, but so they started like a whole day before. So they're easily 12, 13, 14, 15 hours, on top of the 9 hours that I'm at. So they're, 28, 29, 30 hours. And I was like, no way am I touching that. These guys look like death. And I feel like death right now. I feel terrible. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. So turns out that just a couple of years later, I entered Leadville and ran. So in 2014 was my first Leadville finish. So
wow,
that was 2012 when I ran that first 50-miler, and never ever gonna touch 100-milers, and then I ended up running Leadville and finishing there in 2014. That was my first one, and not every year, but almost every year since then, I finished at least 100-mile race, 100-mile race.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so amazing. How are you fueling during those 100-mile runs? I'm just curious about that. And then also, I don't know, I know what goes through my mind during a marathon, so I can't even imagine what is going through your mind during 100. Maybe it just turns off. I don't know. And Jason's done ultra, so he's like he surpassed me too. And I'm sure like at one, we talked about it last week, but what happens at a certain point?
It's funny. I've gotten to a point where I eat pretty similarly to what I would do for a marathon, at least from a basic standpoint. So I use Morton gel. I don't like the gel so much as like the just liquid fuel. So I kind of mix it in water bottles. But I can use that. The closest example I have is I finished the CIM marathon last December.
Mhm.
And during that race, I had 2 of those packets. So in 2 different water bottles. So that's 640 calories. Plus I had a couple ketone shots for the marathon. So that ended up being a 249 marathon.
Nice.
So I'm having, like probably close to 700 calories in less than 3 hours. So the difference for me is that I'm not taking in that amount of fuel in the ultra because it's just the intensity is lower. And I've tried to do that, tried to take in more fuel, but it's just too much. Like my body is just not consuming at the same rate. And because I'm going at a lower effort level, my body is probably efficiently burning a little bit more fat calories than carbohydrate calories at that point. So, but I still kind of feel the same. But anybody that's done ultra running, like it will ruin your experience for any kind of 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon. As far as the what you get when you come up to an aid station. I don't know if Jason feels this, but it's like, man, you do a few ultras or you do a few like trail races and you come up to that table that's just a smorgasbord of everything you can imagine. And then you do a few of those and then you kind of forget that like that's not the way it is in a road race typically. So you go back in the road race and you're like, oh, this is just water and gel here. Like, what's going on? I can't have a quesadilla.
Not enough.
You're spoiled.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely am supplementing lots with that, depending upon how I feel. And that's what's nice about these ultra races is they know that there's going to be people that are coming in wanting Jolly Ranchers. They want candy. They want like gummy bears. And then there's people that are like, oh yeah, I'll eat some bacon or I'll have a slice of pizza or a quesadilla or a hamburger. It's ridiculous, but you can do that because again, your body can digest it already.
Huh.
So,
all right.
But I still end up, I still think I'm burning solidly, 250 to 300 calories an hour easy. I'm probably still taking in less calories than I could possibly be eating. But I've tried, like upping the calories and it just becomes too much on my stomach. So maybe that's something I need to work on.
Jason, you weren't eating too much. You were doing like gels.
Yeah. Primarily gels and some protein bars or whatever. But when I did see that spread though, when I saw that spread, I ain't gonna lie. I indulged a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, like I think the later I got in the race, I just stopped eating because I was just like locked in. It's like, oh, let me just keep going. I didn't eat nothing on the back end.
For me, it's eventually almost always in a race. And this is my brother's also an ultra runner. And I find this a lot is that as you get closer toward the end, your stomach is just tired of digesting everything. You know what I mean? For 100 milers, that's an extreme of, a day of eating gels or whatever, as your stomach says, I don't know about this. I get to a point where a lot of times it's just, just Coke is about it. It's like a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of fizzy in my stomach. And it's like, okay. And then, that becomes the fuel for the rest of the way. So
it works.
Yeah, interesting. Everyone talks about Coke and I'm like, yes, it sounds good after, but I was always curious why during.
For me, the cola syrup will settle my stomach a little bit. So if I get to a point where I'm not able to eat other things and I need to take in more calories because I still will fill my bottles with the gel and I'm just at that point, just very, very slowly sipping on it. If I'm not taking in any extra calories, you're already slowing down towards the end of a race like that. You can just go straight to death march mode real quick.
Yeah. We are curious though, because you did just complete a backyard ultra, which hopefully Jason will get in next year. Not that one that you did, but the one, in Texas.
Right.
So tell us where your backyard ultra was and how long the loops were. Yeah, tell us about it.
It's such a fun, I hadn't done that format before. So I was really excited to try it. This one was like your standard, which I think there's ones that have a little bit different loop, but the standard loop is, I think it's 4.16 to be exact miles per lap. And they do the best to try and get it there. Yeah. And if you do that, the whole idea is that if you're able to hit like a full day, then you are finishing 100 miles in 24 hours. So that's how it maths out. I was interested in seeing how it goes. One of the things, even after having done lots of 100-mile races, I haven't really figured out how to pace myself for these races. The concept of a very forced pacing thing Because again, for anybody that doesn't know what backyard is, it's like you have the hour to finish this 4.16 miles. If I finish early, I don't get to go early. I have to wait. We all wait around and then we go again. So you don't, there's actually no benefit really to going way faster because you're actually burning a lot more calories. You're kind of burning into your anaerobic stuff, which you're going to want later on if you're going to continue, because your body's going to start using that even to just go slow. Hopefully trying to finish every lap in around 50 minutes, 52 minutes. And then if you can do that, then you're all set. So this one was in Casper, Wyoming. So I mentioned my brother, and he puts on a few different races in Wyoming. And this one he actually kind of absorbed from another friend in Casper. And he put on this race called the Skunk Hollow Sneaker Chase for a number of years. And it had two different race distances, an 8-mile and a 16-mile. And I had kind of been in my brother's ear and said, hey, I kind of want to do a backyard. And he's like, well, I was thinking about making one of the distances a backyard. And I was like, yeah, you should do that. So I ended up doing that. And so then, turned the 16 into a backyard.
Oh my gosh, how cool. So it was your brother's race?
Yeah, it's his brother's race. And so the first year doing it, as far as that format. And there was 29 of us. I think it was maybe 27 officially that actually started. I think there were 29 that signed up. I made it down to, I was the last DNF. I was the second place, I guess. So the interesting thing about a backyard is everybody DNFs except for the winner. So technically the person that does that final lap, they have to do one lap by themselves and they end up winning. I got to 16 hours. So it ended up being about 68 miles for me, and decided that was it. So that was midnight. So I started at 8 a.m. on Saturday, ran to midnight, and I said, no mas. And the other guy went out and did one more. So, I got 17 laps for the win.
How did you decide you were done?
It was a mental fatigue for me. Physically, I finished the lap and I still had about 6 to 8 minutes, but definitely felt like I had to push way harder that loop than I had previously. And it's funny, as I mentioned, that the force pacing was really, really good for me. It was good for me to kind of feel like, oh, I've run multiple of my hundreds in sub 24 hours, but most of them have been a descending pace, it hasn't been a very flat pace at all. And it's possible to do that in races like this. And even like you do in a marathon, it's just, you have to learn how to do it better. And so I was like, that was the biggest reason I wanted to try it. It was just like, hey, let's feel what that pace should feel like early on. And it was really, really good for me until that 16th lap. And then it kind of got in my brain and I was like, I don't know if I can do another one at that pace. So maybe I could have, but it was also not my A race. So that was the other part that was kind of in my head, is like, this is a training run. I'm training for the Run Rabbit Run 100 in Steamboat, which is in the middle of September. So I wanted to get a really good training stimulus, which, 70 miles is a good training stimulus. So
yeah, I'd say. So did you do each lap? Did you keep it at that 50 minutes?
It was pretty close. There were some people that were nailing 45-minute laps. And actually one guy, he was doing really, really well. And he got kind of finishing every lap way fast. And then he got off course actually on one lap and ended up finishing a loop and went, uh-oh. He finished it in 36 minutes and was like, oh no, I missed something. So he was like, I don't even know what I missed, but I didn't do the lap. He ended up had DQ himself, but he was being honest about it. But he was like, yeah, there was no way I finished it that fast. I don't know. It was so interesting to be able to run with different people every lap, because we all had to run the same pace. So, there's a number of these people that I'd run with in the past, but I don't always get to run with them. So they've done other hundreds and stuff too, but a lot of times I'm maybe ahead of them by a ways, or maybe they're ahead of me. And so every lap, for at least the first 8, I ran with different people. So it was a great way to meet different people. And in the context of this, it's like runners like us. There was runners out there that were going for just a mileage PR. I'm not going to win the race. I just want to see if I can do a marathon distance, or I've done a marathon and I want to try and see if I can do a 50K, or I want to try and get 40 miles. I want to try and hit 50 miles. So this format is such a cool format for something like that.
Is that what makes you want to do it, Jason?
Well, yeah, because it is definitely challenging. And I think the biggest thing going into backward ultra is like the pacing. Like you're gonna get excited. It's 4 miles, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
4 miles adds up. Yeah, just sticking to your strategy, of course, pacing and then fueling. I like the fueling aspect because I gotta really plan stuff out. I'm like, yeah.
Mhm.
And then if they have food there too, that's even better.
It's cool because I didn't wear like a vest or anything.
Mm.
I just wore a belt. I carried
Nice.
water in one hand, and then I just had the other belt with my fuel in it. And
Yeah.
I that fuel I just drank in two different, basically 2 hours. And then I would just, eat a handful of chips or something when I got back to the aid station. And
Hmm.
I was like, between those two things, that was like perfect. So that was like it eased that whole process of like figuring out what to eat and how to eat and super fun. I like the concept of not knowing, like I get to decide when the race is done too. Unless I just don't finish a loop, right? If you don't
Yeah.
finish, there's some people that just didn't finish a lap and so you're done. But could I have gone out for another? I probably. If I was going to train specifically for a backyard, I would intentionally I did one run where I went and ran like 14 miles with a long run group with Elevate, and then came home and ran 3 more hours of 4 mile loop near my house just to kind of
Nice.
see what that felt like. I would do that more. So
Nice. Does that intrigue you, Michelle? Background ultra? Of
A little bit.
course it does.
it's
Of course
such
it
a
does.
fun format. So another format that I've done that I've really enjoyed is like the set like 12-hour race. So the first one I did was before my first Leadville, and it was
Hmm.
a 12-hour night race. So it was 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Oof.
And for me, it was like, okay, this was about 5 weeks out from my first Leadville. I'd never run more than 50 miles. So I was like, I want to try and see if I can get 100K in this 12 hours, which I knew I'd have to do. I knew I'd have to be moving. But I'd also never really spent like a really long time running at night. So I was like,
Hmm.
well, I'm
Mhm.
going to run through an entire night. So I get to test out my headlamp and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
I don't have to worry about 100% like fueling and stuff. I can figure that out while I'm, doing loops and stuff. I don't have to carry
Yeah.
hours worth of or 6 hours worth of stuff with me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that one was the same kind of deal though. Like there's people that do relays and people that are again dipping their toe into this trail world, into this ultra world and saying, what is this all about? So maybe I could take 12 hours and do a 50K, which normal 50K you would be timed out. They're gonna have a time limit before you can get, they're not gonna allow 12-hour 50K. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like maybe I'm just trying to practice a through hike. So I just want to see trekking along, hiking, how fast I can.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
really cool.
I mean, I'd be interested to see if I could keep up with it, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'm
It,
confident you could.
it's super fun. It's a little different, but yeah, it's most people I know that have ever tried dip their toe into that trail world to go. I can see why people like this. I really like the running community just generally across the board, road,
Hmm.
trail, all that. The running community I think is amazing. They're so supportive, but
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
just feel like in the trail world, they're just like an extra level of supporting each other. And maybe it's a lot of times, especially 50s, hundreds, you're like out in the wilderness. You are very much, this is a shared experience with other people, and you've got 6, 8, 10 miles between aid stations. And so you're relying on yourself and the people
Yeah.
around you way more than you ever are relying on anybody else in a marathon, for example. And
Mhm.
so I've seen just the best of humanity in these kind of races. Sadly, like in a road marathon, I've seen people fall and like maybe even
Yeah.
get trampled. Nobody stops.
Yeah.
And in a trail race, man, if you're running with somebody and someone goes down, it's like rarity if people aren't stopping and like, are you okay? Hey, I've got band-aids. I'll tell the next people at the aid station that, are you going to be okay? Do you want me to hang with you? Those kinds of
Hmm.
things. And this could be someone that you're like racing against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I myself have given like an extra headlamp to a person who like their headlamp went out. They still had a couple hours a night. I was like, oh, I got an extra one. Here you go. Oh, how do I get it back? I said, I'll just give it to my parents on my crew. Like, go find them, or if not, I'll catch you at the finish. All that stuff. It's the best in humanity, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Going through all these races, right? Logging all these miles. At some point, you got to hit the pain cave. What is the pain cave like for you? How long do you think it takes to hit it?
The question of how long is I found to be unique in every situation I've been in.
Mm,
And it just depends upon how my body is dealing with different things. So I've run the Javelina 100, which is down just outside Phoenix, Arizona. It's late October, so right around Halloween, but it's
mm,
still hot there. And I've been in a place where I'm in the pain cave in like at mile 30 because it was like, oh, I overcooked myself. and I should have got more water. I should have got more ice. And I'm like sitting myself under a cactus to try and like,
You're like in the shade.
yeah, like dude, this is like I'm sitting under a saguaro hoping for like a little bit of shade, Like, oh man, I gotta cool down. I don't know if that's technically, I guess that's still pain cave stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's honestly, in most cases, it's kind of that as that day turns into night, I'm usually taking on some caffeine there and then just trying to keep things going. But if I've overcooked myself and I'm slowing down already, a lot of times that's when it hits. Is right in there. Or the other time is they always say it's darkest before the dawn. Those last few hours before the sun comes up, and in the morning you're exhausted, physically, emotionally, mentally exhausted. You're also just it's the middle of the night, it's dark, and all you've seen for the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours is your own headlamp, and so this little tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And there's so many opportunities where you're just, I just want to stop, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to stop, that, but that's just constantly going through your brain. Like, why do I do this again? Yeah. That's usually when it hits. That's probably the worst of them. I mean, sometimes you get those little sleep zombies that kind of hit you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say those are pain caves so much as just, oh my gosh, you're definitely moving. I don't even know. Like maybe I took 15 steps. And I'm like, oh my God, my eyes are closed.
Yeah.
Get it together, man. This could be real bad.
Open your eyes. Watch where you're going.
Oh, this is not good. And then usually a lot of times you have a pacer or something like that. So they're like, whoa, you're veering, or like, you okay? You haven't talked for the last 15 minutes. Are you okay?
Your next race coming up is the Run Rabbit Run 100 in Steamboat. Do you feel prepared?
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting there. I took a couple of weeks of like down training, decreased my overall miles per week to like 40s. Last couple of weeks to kind of let my body recover from doing my backyard. And now I'm like kind of ramping, and I got to get myself into the mountains some more and get a little bit more elevation training in. But yeah, I'm feeling fit. Like, hitting 70 miles or almost 70 in the backyard was a good like mental place for me. Just knowing that I've got like the meat of my mileage here coming in the next 3 weeks or so.
Do you have pacers for that?
My brother will come and pace. So a lot of times if we're not running together, which we've done a number of times, we end up pacing each other. So he'll end up pacing me probably for 20 to 30 miles, depending on, we have to look at the sections and see what works. So he actually paced a buddy last year at this same race, kind of looking at the same section, so he kind of knows it a little bit.
I'm super curious about this pacing thing. Could I pace you?
Oh yeah, 100%. Really? Yeah.
I feel like I'm slow.
Oh no. It's so funny. So many people that are like, oh my God, you're so fast. Not when you're doing these things. By the time I'm getting towards the end of 100, if I hit like a 9-minute mile, that's like on a super flat, and I am like redlining it. So most of the time you're doing lots of hiking, and it's a jog. So, because even then, I was talking about, a 24-hour ultra, 24-hour 100. That would be my goal. My goal is to break 24 hours at the Run Rabbit. That's like a 14-minute mile.
That's true.
If you can average that. But I mean, you're also doing all kinds of crazy climbing and stuff. You've got it averages out, because you're not gonna hike up a mountain at 14-minute mile.
No.
So you're gonna make up some of that on a downhill.
Yeah.
But you work a lot on that hiking piece, so that hopefully you're hitting, even if it's steep, you're hopefully doing maybe at the slowest 30-minute miles, but hopefully you're trying to I try to keep it around a 20-minute mile. So I'm still going 3 miles an hour. And then I know that once I hit a flat or a down, going to a 15-minute mile to a 12-minute mile, jogging becomes easier. So
yeah. Are you going to be carrying a pack?
Yeah, for sure. Carry a pack. Run Rabbit sets itself up. I have a water filtration cap on my water bottle, so that if I need that, I can, go fill that up. Just filter the water, and that's the best water though. Stream water. If you can, as long as you got a filter. I'm not that green. It's like, oh, it looks pretty clean. I don't need to get there yet. So.
You're gonna be struggling for like.
I have a buddy who's like, oh no, we're way high up. Like this stuff's clean. I'm like,
the way bacteria work.
Yeah, let's not go there.
He's kind of done it his whole life, and okay, so like maybe you just got the gut microbiome. You're all set. So I'm not testing that one. I'll let the filter do its job. But yeah, it's good water.
Jason's really into shoes. So what shoes do you wear? I know you kind of wear a special brand that not a lot of people are wearing yet.
Right. I've got a couple. So I'll talk about the ones I usually wear a ton, and then the ones I kind of stumbled on here really close. I was one of like the early adopters of ultras in my very first Leadville all the way back. This is again 2014, and an ultra, I think, gosh, it might be like 2010 or 2011 that they kind of hit the scene. I had been training all summer for Leadville. I'm like having issues with shoes and spraining my ankle and like just not loving the shoes I was in. And I tried a bunch of different brands. And I was at my local Runner's Roost here in Lakewood. And they were like, hey, we've got this shoe. It's called Ultra Superior. It's like, it's not a super heavy shoe, but you also run in pretty light shoes, not big, thick shoes. You should try this. It was the first version of that shoe. 2 weeks out, I did everything you're not supposed to do, trying out a shoe. And I ran in that shoe and I was like, oh my God, I love this shoe. So I ran Leadville in that shoe, blew out both toe boxes. One of them, I knew I had blown it out. They're already wide toe box anyway. And that's sort of an issue with Ultra I've had in the past, even through other iterations of the same shoe. The shoe actually just like, even though that happened, I had like zero blistering. The shoe, even though that happened, structurally was fine otherwise, all the way through, no shoe changes all the way through 100 miles. So I fell in love with Ultra at that point. Ever since then, I've kind of been in Ultra shoes for most of my races. And then just recently, I found a shoe brand called Mount to Coast. They're, I think, only really been out for about a year. But their whole thing is they catering to people that are in the ultras, or at first, their very first shoe was just a road shoe. So it's like people that are doing run across their state or run across the country. I have a friend who's wearing a pair for 100 days, 10 miles a day. He's going to try and see if he can wear the same pair for 1,000 miles. These shoes are like, they're supposed to be bomb proof. Like they're all white. They either are white or black. And then they have a few other colors that they just added. But like, they want you to get them dirty and not wash them. Just let them go. The midsole is kind of interesting. It's really good. Misha's seen the shoes. They're ugly as heck, but I do track workouts in them and long runs, and I've done up to 20-mile long run. And in fact, I got the trail version of the shoe, and I did 70 miles on the trail version. Well, 68 miles in the trail version of the shoe, put it in the backyard. It's got a wide toe box and a little bit of stack, which is different than my ultras because used to this like zero drop, no stack on there. So, but my feet like them.
You convinced my buddy Greg bought some.
Did he? Yeah. What do you think?
I think he loves them.
That's a cool shoe. What's nice about them is they're inexpensive, I think, for the technology that they have. They have quite a bit of rebound in the midsole. And so it's kind of like in that same tier of some of those like super shoes. It doesn't have carbon plates or anything like that. So, yeah, my feet feel pretty good.
What do you run on the road?
Those ones. So that pair that's a road one. And then I bought a pair for the trail ones. They just actually, the trail ones just came out in May. I've tried for a while, like immediately tried to buy them. And then they sold out like immediately. And then luckily at the Runner's Roost Lakewood again, I was like, oh, you guys have them. And they looked and I was like, oh, it's a half size too small. And luckily the half size was like perfect for me, actually. So
talk us your cold plunge. Yeah, the cold plunge. Just talk us through that.
Cool. The beginning of this year, I decided to cold plunge once a day for a year. If I rewind a little further, I had decided to try and do that just for the month of January. So, if I rewind even a little bit further than that, been sort of dipping my toe into cold plunging now for a few years. I learned about it through a man named Wim Hof. So, he does a whole series of like breath work and cold plunging. And the whole idea is to kind of reset your nervous system. And it's supposed to help a lot with your immune system.
Yeah.
So I done last year, I was plunging pretty regularly 3 to 4 days a week. And I did Sunday plunge days where I like posted on Facebook and Instagram. And I did that all last year. And so this year I was like, okay, well, I want to just see what it's like if I do a whole month every day. And usually like 2 to 3. And then about halfway through the month, I actually stumbled. I think probably the algorithm in Instagram was like, whoa, hey, you're doing this thing and there's other people doing this thing. So I stumbled on another account and she's like, I'm going to do a whole year. And she had started in, I want to say around Thanksgiving. So she was like a little bit ahead. And I was like, oh, well, if I do a whole month, I might as well let's just see how long this goes. So,
yeah.
And so I decided then that I was like, okay, well, let's just turn this into a year. But that meant I like had to kind of upgrade my situation. So I bought like a blow up plunge tub. And in Colorado, it stays plenty cold for the winter. In the past, had to figure out, like, how do I get it to not freeze solid? So I had that situation. It would have been probably October or maybe November of 2024 where it just like literally froze solid and I couldn't plunge. And it was like just this solid block of ice that I dump it out and refill it and all that stuff. So I got a little pond pump that kept the water circulating. And so that worked. And then though, like March and April hit and it started to get a little warmer, the water's just like basically a little bit frozen every day and I have to break it up. 32 degrees and it's cold gloriousness. And then I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? I'm going to go buy ice every day. I finally was like, okay, there's these chillers that you can buy for them. And I'm going to spring for a chiller. There's like super expensive ones. And I ended up getting one that was not too bad, not too expensive, and plug it all in and keep it at 42. And I've been plunging at 42 degrees now for the rest of the summer, unless I can get myself in a natural body of water. I kind of pushing my like time a little bit, 3 minutes to 4 minutes, maybe a little bit now, because it's a little bit warmer getting out.
That's dope.
Like from a mental standpoint, it's a great way to start the day. Or if I don't do it right in the beginning of the day, I'll do it like mid-afternoon. And it's kind of like a good refresher to like kind of get yourself going for the rest of the afternoon. I've learned how to control my breath. So you think about from a mental health standpoint, if I can deal with this level of stress and like control it, I can breathe through, a bunch of other stressful situations too.
Yeah.
Then that's what I found.
Jason, what's yours at?
Room temperature. I can't afford ice. Someday I got ice, or I got a cube here, or if it's cold outside, then or chilly outside, then cool. But nah, and I don't really use it that much because with it being hot here and it'll sit in there, I gotta dump it and clean it out and then fill it up again, and then of course if I don't use it, it just sits there. So now I just use my like compression sleeves or something quicker because it just takes too much. I don't think it's like worth the.
I hear you on that. That's why I had to do. I was like, okay, I'm going to just do this. Because one of the things I found in the winter, I think I emptied it once in between January and March, and just as long as I'm pretty clean getting in, it's not building microbes in 32-degree water. And now keeping it at 42, I'm emptying it about once a month, which helps. But a lot of that's in between my lid, like stuff gets in there, and it's that helps keep it a little bit cleaner. It's just, I don't know, it's so good. I don't actually use it a lot I know a lot of people do ice for like recovery. I do it before I run, before I work out, and then I use my workout or run or strength training or whatever to like heat my body back up. That's part of the whole protocol of the Wim Hof method, is that you're teaching your body to do this like mentally, but also physically. He talks about it being so we think about our cardiovascular system as our heart, right? Well, vascular is our vascular system too. So it's like, this is helping all of the vascular system become more efficient. When your hands get cold, your feet get cold, the natural response is I go in cold, and everybody goes in cold. This happens to everybody. It sends all of your blood to your core because that's the part it needs to protect, right? So your hands, feet, they get really cold. So you get back out and you have to figure out how you're going to get your body warmed back up. I have found in the 200 plus days now that I've done it, significant improvement in how quickly my hands and feet come back. It's like, used to be, it would take 30, 45, 50 minutes. And, my feet are still a little chilly. My hands are still a little chilly. And now it's 15, 20 minutes. And I'm back homeostasis. I mean, that's gotta be a good thing for the vascular.
Yeah. I would say so.
Now I'm like playing with like the other end of the spectrum too. Because I think there's so much with saunas and that kind of stuff too. And there's more and more studies showing that now too. So now you're like, okay, now I have to get a sauna. Hard to say, I'm in a sauna once a day for a year. I mean, that seems easier to do for sure. There's tons of benefits for it too.
Yeah, I was curious if you feel that now that you're saying that you do it before normally, like do you feel that you are recovering faster from your longer runs?
I do think so. And I think part of it's two things. I think even though I'm not typically cold plunging after, I will sometimes just, if it's just been hot, like a hot run. I've done a few this summer where it's like, I'm going to get back in there just to help my body cool down a little bit. But I think the daily practice of it is having a positive benefit. I think it's two things though. It's you're stressing that that vascular system, which is then, you're just kind of flushing blood back out of the muscles, and then you're, getting the blood flow back going again. And then the extra little workout every day. So it's, like from some squats, or I've been getting the big wall balls. And if you ever seen High Rocks where they do the wall ball up against and I've been just doing those. I feel like it's a great full body exercise, and that warms me back up. I mean, that's got to have some good benefit just generally for strength anyway. And it's just getting the blood flowing. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like you are a very motivating and encouraging human being. You listen, we were on a run one Saturday and
Mhm.
I don't know, I was just like starting to fade pretty quick. And John's like, "Oh, should we keep going?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, we're trying to hit 12 and we're not there yet." He's like,
Yeah.
"Let's go. We're just gonna keep going down." And thank God he was with me because I was like, I don't know if I would have made it, but so you are very encouraging. You're very motivating to the group also, which we all really appreciate, all the Elevate athletes. And do you ever feel unmotivated? And I'm curious what you do to get back into the game. I don't know if that ever happens to you.
Well, the motivating other people thing is just that does come from just I mean, that's why I teach.
Mhm.
It comes from just something that's sort of inside me that I just enjoy doing. We all need a little bit of extra push. I do. Over the summer, I have not struggled with my running motivation. I have struggled a ton with like doing other things motivation over the summer.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to hopefully habit stack that. Like, okay, you got your run. Now let's go do some yard work. And I'm like, I don't want to do the
Mhm.
yard.
Yep.
Hey, you did this. Let's work on your coaching certification, which is another thing I've been working on. And I was like, totally going to finish it over the summer. And now I'm back to school tomorrow. So it's like, well, I did work some on it, but it's like not nearly as much as I could have or should have. But so, yeah, I do struggle with that motivation. I think just like anybody does. For me, I'm lucky in that, I don't know, professionally, like motivation sometimes is a little bit more challenging. Where this is, I don't know, I've never really struggled with running motivation, and maybe that's because I'm so rarely injured. I know that absolutely has something to do with it. I know that when I get injured, everything kind of takes a nosedive. So I think that's a lot of people. I think there's a lot of us that use running as a form of mental health for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I came to
Yeah.
run, like I didn't come to running for mental health, but I found a lot of tools for mental health in my running.
Hmm.
And so now it's like when I'm running 6 days a week and pretty consistently, even if I'm not racing for something, it's like if I don't go a couple days in a row, I can just feel like mentally, emotionally, like just kind of so.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Mish knows this. I wasn't like officially on the team. I just showed up for all the long runs for like the longest time. I would show up to all the long runs, and Sarah knew me that way. And then finally, I was like, okay, I'm gonna actually hire you as a coach, Sarah. She was like, oh, cool. And that's for the CIM marathon. And unsurprisingly, I ran like a 9-minute PR. So even people that run a lot and kind of feel like they've got themselves dialed, like that was like I know how to do the training and stuff. And she like, here, let me help you. And gave me those few extra things and one marathon training block and a 9-minute PR at 45.
That's
That's,
that's
like
amazing.
that's, if that's not a glowing endorsement for Sarah, number one, but also
Mhm.
just for getting a quality coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what is.
Yeah.
I was
Uh,
telling Michelle, I'm like the gateway drug for like the long run. A lot of people struggle with the long run. They're like, I can't. Let's go 14. Like
Yeah.
when people are like, I was gonna do 16. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll jump in with you.
Yeah.
that's
It's like I've
awesome.
never built up like most people did 5K, 10K stuff. And that felt the longest. But now I've been doing this for such a long time that I feel like I can jump in a long run with just about anybody.
Which is
Yeah.
nice because then you're kind of like the chameleon that can go with whatever anyone's doing. Or like if we're
Mhm.
doing pace work, you can join us for that to help us get to like a certain pace for a few minute miles or whatever. So that's
Love it.
really
Yeah.
nice. I mean, I heard about your workout yesterday, so we'll
Oh
see.
yeah, 6 by
Because
1K. That was solid.
yeah,
Whew.
6 by 1K, but
Mm.
you were running 6 minute miles and it was 95 degrees, sir.
Yeah.
It wasn't sunny though, so
In the
no, that was a
sun.
good sign that my legs are definitely recovered from my backyard. So
Yeah.
I actually went to the track workout 2 weeks ago, and that was 3 days after the backyard. Yeah, I'm gonna try the workout, but I'm gonna like dial it down. She was like, okay, cool, you can run with a lot of people then. Usually, a lot of times I am kind of running by myself, but.
Yeah.
Just a question, you've been very motivating, very insightful, this whole podcast. Can you share some insight or some motivation for newer runners looking to start their journey like you?
I work with kids all the time, like I said, and
Hmm.
if you want to get into running, hopefully it's because you love to.
Yeah.
I think that's an important step. And I think don't lose that, right? I think people get into running to maybe lose weight or other reasons too. And I think if you lose, I'm doing this thing because I love it, running's
Hmm.
hard
Yeah.
and it can be tough to keep going. But I mean, I think like find a group of people, find your people so that when you do lose motivation, and maybe you're not feeling like going and doing that run, and you're like sort of like an accountability partner where you're like, I did say I was going to go do the long run with people. And,
Yeah.
it's like you're guilting yourself a little bit, but at the same time, that it's going to you're going to feel better when you go do it. And then you go see those people, and accountability partner, I think, is a big one. It's just set goals. Like, I don't know, it doesn't matter if it's a race goal or a distance goal, or I don't know, maybe a overall fitness goal. I always have a goal, I think, in mind. When I'm done with race season and I'm doing something else, I still, like, in the back of my mind have like, okay, these are some races I want to do, but this is my season of speed, like Sarah likes to say, or I want to put in some more strength, or those kinds of things. And it's just always have something long term. And then I think, for me at least, I guess it's kind of like, because I'm a big vision person, like I see the long-term goal and then I put the pieces in place. But I guess there's other people that need like that. I need that goal for this week or next week or next week. I guess depend upon who you are as a person.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And thanks so much for being on our little podcast today. I'm super excited to see what happens next month in your 100. We're looking forward to tracking you, following you. And then also, when you get your cert, let us know when you start coaching. Yeah, you'll get there.
Man, it's a process, but it's become more of a process because of that motivation piece. And it's funny because when I sit down, I love doing it. I need to just finish it. Just finish it up.
Well, thanks so much. Hey, John, tell the listeners and viewers where they can find you on Instagram.
Cool. Yeah, on Insta, I'm ultra jonk. JONK. I don't know. It's something I made when I was like in college, I think, or a little after college. So ultra JONK, ultra jonk.
Nice.
That's me. Last name Kinner, so ultra jonk. And then just John Kinner on Facebook.
The Book of Face.
Jason, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram. Go for your 30. Yeah, I'll pop up. That's me.
And I'm at MQUIT, MQuit. Thank you everyone for being here. Like, follow all of us. And yeah, John, thank you so much again. And
thank you.
we'll be with you guys again soon.